Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video with Ellyn Dye. Please post your comments, questions for her, and follow her to her website. Take care.
Everybody, welcome to Fireside Chat. I'm Krista Gorman, and this is my very special guest, Ellyn Dye. And she's joined me today for my inaugural sort of video for the new channel that is launching. I still have the old videos on my channel, but I've just simply changed the face of it, and I wanted to sort of direct it to more discussions with people, mainly in the near-death community, because I feel like there's so much wisdom and so much help that we can offer to the masses through our experiences, because they are so unique, and we are so different just in our meat suits that we inhabit here. But ultimately, the message is always that of love, in all its forms. Can be it can vary vastly. So, Ellyn, I want to welcome you.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here and happy to be your inaugural guest.
This is fabulous. How long? We've known each other for about 10 years, a little over 10 years, I think. I think we met in 2015
Oh, okay.
at
It
the
was
San Antonio IANS.
right. Is that
Yeah.
where we met? Okay.
Yeah, it was one of those super late night group chats in the lobby or in like a side
Hanging out
part
in
of
the
the hotel.
lobby.
Yeah, a bunch of us.
I remember that. I kept saying, I need to go to bed. And everybody kept saying, no, don't. And I kept staying because the conversation was so good.
Oh my gosh, I'll never forget that. That was
I
such a great
would.
night. And we talked about so many things and connected with each other on so many different levels. Yeah, it was fabulous. So, would you like to share your NDE?
Sure. I'm happy to.
Great, please.
I'll give a kind of shortened version. I'm one of those people, I can do it for 5 minutes or 2 hours, depending on how much time I have. Because as you know, an NDE is so full. There's so much that happens. It's you can't tell it all. I mean, one, we don't remember it all at any given time, but you can't just explain all of it because there's so much there. It's sort of like saying, I'll give you 10 minutes and tell me everything about your entire life.
Yeah.
Everything that happened. So but what I find is that when I'm talking, somehow um, the the important details for that audience managed to pop up. It was a long time ago. I mean, I've been integrating this since 1985. So 1985, Columbus Day weekend, I was returning some videos to Blockbuster and going down the road to the grocery store before returning home. And I came to an intersection, and there was just another car coming the opposite direction. And as we entered the intersection, I saw him start to come over into my lane. And I mean, I interpreted it that he had decided to turn left. I don't know if that's true. Found out he was drunk later. He might have just, woven over. And so I registered what was going to happen. It's like we're going to hit, and then I was suddenly looking down at the top of my car. And that took a minute to reorient myself because I didn't feel any impact. I didn't feel any pain. I felt nothing. I just suddenly was not only out of the car but out of my body. And it took a minute to register what I was looking at. And So I watched for a while. I saw the guy get out of his car and walk over to mine and reach in, and I thought he was checking to see if I was okay, but he actually turned my headlights off so that he could blame me for the accident. And that came to nothing. But but I lost interest. It's suddenly like this world is sort of like, you know, it's like there, and I thought that there ought to be like a tunnel of light somewhere. Because I had read about them. There weren't too many books out at that time, but I had read them. Right, Moody's book, and I think Ken Ring had his book out by then too. So I knew about the tunnel of light, and I kind of had an idea. I knew it was like, oh, I'm out of my body, and woo, here we go. So as soon as I thought about that, I felt this, I kind of heard and felt a whoosh come in from this side, kind of from behind me. But I could see in all directions. And there's this tunnel of light. And the first thing though was I could feel it. I could feel this amazing energy that felt sweet and wonderful and happy and loving and joyful. And I was like, yeah, I want some of that, you know. And so I kind of moved toward that. And it kind of drew me in. It wasn't like I had to swim up the tunnel or anything. It kind of drew me in. And the farther in I got, the more intense this energy was, and this feeling of just kind of like bliss. And I felt like all of the burdens of my life, and I had a lot at the time. I was kind of struggling financially and, kind of disappointed with my life at the time and not being able to get changes that I wanted. And so it felt like all of that was just kind of like falling away. And I felt light and expansive and in fact, it's sort of like, how can I fit in this tunnel? Because I'm so much more than I was. But it worked fine, and I got to the end of the tunnel, and I came into this environment of white light. Didn't seem odd at all. It was like it was total comfort. It was it was totally familiar. It was like I gave this big giant sigh of relief, like, oh my God, I'm home. I'm back. I was out there like in the jungle in this horrible hostile environment for so long, and now I'm home. And that was the way it felt. It was just love, and it was what I was made of. And yet it's sort of like I blended in, and at the same time I was still separate. And it's kind of like when the ocean sends a wave up on the shore, and then it pulls back and it leaves some little puddles of water here and there in the sand, and little dips in the sand. Um, I felt like I had been one of those dips in the sand, you know, some of that water in the sand, and I had been left. And then now the next wave had come and taken me back into the ocean where I belonged. It was that kind of a feeling of yeah, that place was alien, and this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the way it's supposed to feel. And I guess the second thing I noticed was there was no feeling of judgment. And I've thought about this a lot, and people always ask me to describe it. And it's like, how can you describe the feeling of unconditional love or no judgment to someone who has always lived with judgment? It's like you can't, because we can't, here in a body, we can't imagine ourselves without that burden of being judged, even if it's just judging ourselves. And I realized that the only one judging there was me. And it was like, wow, okay. So about that time, there's this whole big crowd of people, and I turned and I saw them all. And so I have to skip back in time a little bit because I was adopted as an infant. And I had no idea who my biological parents were. And I grew up, with it was kind of, I guess my father was pretty critical and harsh. And I was very sensitive, so of course I internalized all of it, like much more than anybody else would. And my adoptive mother died when I was 12. So, and then my father remarried, and I got a stepmother and four stepkids, step siblings, and never fit into that family at all. So it was kind of a struggle. But so the first person I see was my adoptive mother, who was right there in front, and my grandmother and a couple of aunts and uncles who had passed, and they were all there. And then there were a whole bunch of other people, and they're all like, "Oh my God, we're so glad to see you, and we're so proud of you, and you've done such a good job." And so, here I am, my self-judgment kicks in, and I'm like, I haven't accomplished anything. I'm a total loser here. I'm a total failure. I haven't done any of the things that society said I should do, like get married, have children, or at least have a really good job. It's like none of that. It's like I can pay my rent, but that's about it. But I was the only one thinking that, and they were like, "No, you got up every single day in hard circumstances, and you did your best." And you kept your sense of humor. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So then I start seeing the other people in this big crowd, and some of them I knew somehow, but not from this life. Um, but I knew who they were, and it was like from other lives or something. But one person I saw, and I knew immediately it was my biological father. I hadn't met him. I didn't know anything about him. The records at that time were completely shut. So I had no information whatsoever. But I knew who he was. And he knew my adoptive mother and all of that. And we were kind of like chit-chatting, about how all that turned out. And I realized, I mean, at that time I had been reading about the idea that we plan our lives before we come. But I hadn't really wrapped my head around what that meant. And I had spent a lot of my life, like, why did I have to be given away? And all of this, and feeling like there must have been something horrible about me or whatever, to have caused this adoption. And it started to dawn on me that I had chosen to do that. And I'm like, it's like, no, I would never have chosen that. And if I had, I would have chosen really, really loving, supportive parents, and I wouldn't have had one die when I was young. And it's like, no, no, you set it up. And it's like, all right, well, whatever. So about that time, two things happened. First, I realized that I wanted to see something. I wanted like a background. We're used to 3D with colors and, buildings and trees and flowers and I just thought I really need this to look like something 3D because for some reason I'm not relating to this whiteness. It's like, and as soon as I said that, it was as if this big hand came up like this with finger paints or something, and all of a sudden it was this like park-like setting, and it's like, oh, well, this is nice. And the colors were colors that we've never seen before. They're just so amazing. Probably they're outside the spectrum of the physical eye or something like that. And everything was alive. I mean, I could tell the grass was alive, the flowers were alive, the tree, well, of course, the trees were alive, everything was alive. And I saw there were a bunch of cats and dogs running around, chasing each other. And the three cats that I had had up to that point who had passed all ran past me and kind of said hello. And they were all like, kind of like seemed like 1 year old. They were kind of like fully grown, but still acted like kittens. And so that was really nice to see. And I thought, I think I'm supposed to see somebody else, but I don't know who. And of course, then I noticed that there was this pathway that led down into these trees. So I said goodbye to the group and said, I'll probably see you later. And thanks for greeting me. And I walked down this path and over a little brook, a little bridge over a brook, and then into like a clearing that had like a gazebo in it, like one of those buildings that has a floor and a roof, but it just has columns holding up the roof, and I could see that there were people in there. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to see them. So I went up, and there were 12 of them, and I kind of ended up standing in the middle of like a circle of them, and they were all really tall, like 12 feet. And but they were like the personification of the white light. And they were so loving, and they just at first they kind of regard is the word I come up with. They just regarded me. And I could feel that they could see everything that I had ever said or done or not said or not done. Um, all my dreams, all my wishes, everything. And there was no judgment. And part of me is like, I'm starting to think of, oh, well, remember that time and remember that time and remember when I did this and oh, I don't want them to know I did that and all these kind of stupid things that we feel shame about and guilt about and we judge ourselves about and on one hand, I'm feeling that's a stupid thing. It doesn't matter. And on the other hand, this just out of habit, I'm judging myself. There was no judgment from them whatsoever. It was just love. And it felt like as they stood and loved me, even those judgments started to flow away. And so I kind of said, that's really horrible down there. What, What the heck was that about? And why would anybody ever choose to go there? And I have a feeling I've been there before, and yet I chose to go again. And what is the whole meaning of all of this? And so they kind of showed me, like little movies of all these different past lives, and then kind of the whole progress and history of humanity, and also where we're going, and where I fit into that, and where each of my lives fit in. And I could kind of tell from different lives what I had learned. And I said, okay, that makes sense. And I said, but so why did I have it so hard? Why did I have such a harsh childhood, such a difficult childhood? And, like abandonment and rejection and, criticism and all of that over and over and over and over again. And it didn't seem like I could get away from it. And, I'd meet, when I got out on my own, I would meet people and they'd treat me the same way. And it was like, what the heck? And they said, oh, well, you were determined that you were going to learn self-love in this life. And you had tried in a number of lives before, but you hadn't gotten it completely. And things you wanted to do later in this life, you were going to have that in order to do it. And so you were determined. And I said, yeah, but why, if I wanted to learn self-love, wouldn't I put myself in a family that would support me and tell me I was lovable and, that I could do anything? And no, 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 no. Because for self-love, it has to come from inside. So you put yourself in a situation where you did not perceive that you were getting love unless like twisted yourself in a knot, to try to, please people. And because you still didn't have it inside you. So you looked for validation from everybody else. So you would set it up so they would not give you that validation. And I'm like, oh, really smart, Was I a masochist or what, And they said, no, you were determined. And they said, and you did it. And I'm like, I did? And they showed me when I was about 16, they showed me the moment. I think, my father was berating me for something and accusing me of something, or, expressing my character in a way that was wrong. And something deep inside of me just kind of went, I am not that person. I am kind. I am generous. I am smart. I don't know who he's talking about, but it's not me. Obviously he can't see me, but I'm not that person. And they said that in that moment, the spark of self-love, you know, sparked into a flame. And they said, and you've been fanning it ever since. And so, every successive abandonment, and rejection was another opportunity for you to realize who you are and what you deserve, and to have that. And I said, yeah, but you really need a manual for this crap. I had no idea. And I said, but no matter, because I'm here now and I'm not going back. And they're like, you don't have to. You did, you learned the lesson that you were determined to learn, and you don't have to go back. And I'm like, okay, good. I'll go talk to the relatives, I'll go talk to the relatives again. And then I hear in my head, but let us show you what you can accomplish if you go back. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in the emergency room. And once I realized where I was, I started to swear. And the nurse came over and I said, "Why am I here?" And she said, "You were in a car accident, and you hit your head and uh, have a concussion." And I said, "No, why am I here?" And so she's like, "You were in a car accident." I'm like, "Never mind. I wasn't talking to you." So yeah, I woke up. Over the years, I've realized that somehow in that time, I knew the problem was I knew that I had changed my mind, and that made me really mad. It's like they hadn't sent me back, but I changed my mind and said I would come back. And I couldn't remember why, and I couldn't conceive of any possible reason why. So I was really, really mad. But I also have over time realized that I must have negotiated a few things. Kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll go back, but this and this and this and this. So, I mean, I had slammed my knees into the dashboard and my head had ricocheted off the steering wheel into the windshield and all this other stuff. And I really had no injuries really. I mean, I was bruised up and I had a concussion, but everything was fine. I didn't have a broken leg or, when I saw the car, it was like the engine was in the driver's seat. And I'm like, holy God, you know, nobody could live through that. And yet I did. So then I had to spend the next 20 years integrating that whole experience.
And that is something that I look forward to diving into with you in future videos. Absolutely. I think that your the length of time that it's been since your experience and just all the life that you've lived and all the wisdom that you have to share is so important for everybody out there. Um, that I just love your story. I love the way you tell it.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
and I'd love for people to leave questions, comments below for Ellyn because we can address them in later videos
Yeah, that'd be
directly.
fun.
So, short of all being in a room together, this is probably the next best way to do it, along with maybe in the future doing some lives where we can make announcements. So um, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you get notifications of upcoming live videos where you can participate. But I want to ask you, Ellyn, about those beings that you were in that sort of gazebo space with, the very tall, benevolent beings. And the thing that came to me while you were describing them and the way that they perceived you was they were beholding you. Like you are a
Oh,
work of art.
aw.
You're magnificent. And they are just beholding your magnificence and unconditionally loving you exactly as you are. Yeah. That's the feeling I had because
Yeah,
that's what
I just got chills. So yeah, and that's what it felt like. I mean, I never, with my own self-judgment still, would never have come up with that. Oh, they just said I was magnificent. I couldn't go there. But when you said it, that is exactly how it felt.
like and when you're beholding something, you are not attached to it. You're not
Right.
there's no attachment of this is mine or I love you because you do something for me. No,
Right.
it was just your divine state of being was being celebrated by these
Hmm.
entities. Yeah. So I think that that's something that is a really important message for folks because that is our true state is
Yes.
that magnificence. And Nina Morjani talks about it whenever she shares. And I'm sure you've heard her
Mm-hmm.
you know, just as many times as I have at
Yeah.
high ends and whatnot. But she shares it so beautifully, just the trying to describe the magnificence that she experienced in her NDE, the magnificence of who we are, just in being. Like, we don't have to do anything. We can
Exactly.
just be, right? So that takes all the pressure off. It's like, oh, okay,
It does. It does. And
just be.
we spend years, maybe decades trying to figure out what our mission is and why we came back and what's our purpose. And to me, it's sort of like it's not a job description. It's to step into who we are
Yeah.
and to be that person. And because we each have, it's like we have a different note in the symphony to play. And if we're trying to play somebody else's note, that's not going to do it. We're supposed to play our own note by being who we are.
Yeah.
And that ripples out and it affects the world.
Mhm.
And I have come over time to believe that, our reason for being, other than experiencing things, is to be here now and be who we are.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful message. Beautiful message. We're running out of time, so let's come back and revisit your experience and specific aspects of your experience. And I really want to focus on the self-love and talking more about that in the future. All right, sound good?
Okay, that's good.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Ellen. I love you so much.
Thank you. Love you, Kristen.